Hi guys, I'm doing a video today. What I'm going to try and show, if I can, best in my ability, is how to weight your floats, your pole floats, accurately for how you're going to fish when you're doing your rigs at home before you get to the lake, basically. What it is, I've been looking at doing a lot more pole float fishing for carp on some of the waters, especially yesterday. I had a cracking session on the feeder and that yesterday at a lake, and I thought, can I do a hard pellet float rig that's highly visible and accurate for where I'm fishing because of the colours of the background reflecting on the water and what have you. It's quite hard to see a float at times unless you're in the perfect spot. So I've got a load of floats here. This is a Rizov, and as you can see by the tip, it's got quite a lot of coloration on it, and that's so that you can have it at different depths. You can imagine it there like that, doing that. You're going to see anything this float does, whether it's a lift or a down. Brilliant float. This is a 0.4 of a gram, so I'm going to show you how you can weight 0.4 of a gram to an accurate thing, and then you're going to take into consideration the weight of maybe a pellet if you're fishing dead depth. If you're fishing over depth, it doesn't matter, because it's not going to make any difference to how your float sits if you're fishing over depth. And these are self-buoyant, so if I put that in there now, you can see it stands upright. It's not because it's touching the glass. If I move it away from the side of the glass, it's still self-buoyant. But that tip is way out. Half the body's still out of the water when you do that. So we're going to weight it down and have it accurate. Now, I've got a range of these floats. In fairness, they've done some really nice ones that come with extra tips. Now, I'm not doing an advert for them or anything, but these are all different weights, different sizes, different lengths of these type. That's all these Rizov ones. These are ranging from 0.2 of a gram up to 0.1. Is it? Nope. 0.2 of a gram up to 0.6 by the look of it is the biggest one I've got here. So it's 2.2s, 2.4s and 2.6s. And then the other ones I have, if I can take one off the sellotape here, are these ones here with the sort of onion bodied, if you will. And you can see a really long tip on them, really long bristle. Now what it is, these tips, you can take them off and you can change them, and they give you 3 tips per float. And what I'll just show you here, take these rubbers off, is so that if you're fishing a lake and the daylight changes, you know how the light changes throughout the day and the shadows can change, or there's a ripple appears on the water and you can't distinguish your tip, you've got 3 different tips there. Or if you want to change how you're fishing and how much more of your float is showing, how sensitive it is, so you've got your red tip, your yellow, and then again one of these multicoloured tips, which are great for when you're getting lift bites and things like that. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to start rigging up this float. I'll come back to you with the camera. Got a big vase of water here so that I can put some line and some weights on it and weight this float down, so I know exactly how it's going to take weight, what it's going to sit like, and how I'm going to rig it. So I'll be back to you. Right, I've just got some line here, and just to show you what I'm going to rig this up with is MIDI. MIDI low vis fluoro crystal low diameter line. Now this is 0.18, so 7-8 poundish if you will, and actually on it tells you everything about the elastic you could use, your hook length, all the sorts of sizes to go with it, so that you can fish it properly, if you know what I mean. So on here, for instance, it tells you if you're using Midi's gear to use pink elastic, which is a rating of 12 to 16, and a hook length of between, I don't know, 18, like 0.18 to 0.16 or lower, depending, so that the hook length will snap first before your main line. You always do it, plus it gives it a tapered finish. And with the, if I can get the blooming line, it's in here somewhere, with the float, what I didn't mention is on the body of the float you also have an eye at the top here. Now that eye, you're going to pass your line through and it holds it stable. Now these eyes are really well put on there, so there's no chance of it coming off whatsoever. I've just got to try and find the line on here now. Where is it? Got some somewhere. Is that it? Hey. to pull off a little bit of line here. And what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is just put this line through the eye of that float. Like, if I can see it, like so. That's it. Put that over there somewhere. And what I want to do now is hold on to that. I'm going to leave the spool on the floor because I'm not taking off as much length as I need to at the moment. And I'm going to take my float, and all I want to do this rig is a few inches. So I've got some line there passing through the eye of the float. Then you've got your pull rubbers. Now I've got a selection of rubbers here that I bought off eBay for pennies, and they were pennies, and they're all different diameters. It tells you what diameters they are for the stem that you're using. Now this stem is a carbon stem, so it means that the float's a little bit more buoyant and not as stable as, say, a steel stem or a metal stem. Metal stem, brilliant if you want to fish it, you know, more static, so you know they're going to be a lot better. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to feed this rubber on to the line first. That's one on. Now with the length of the stems on this, I like to use 3 rubbers to make sure it's in there nice and securely. There's 2, and then a longer rubber if I can for the bottom, and you'll see why when I've done it. Hold on, can't see that one now. I mean, my eyes are getting bad, I must be getting old. Right, so there you go. You got those 3 rubbers on there. There is 3 there, believe it or not. We're going to feed them onto the float to trap it in place. I find it best to just moisten them a bit and moisten the stem of the float so they pass on. Nice and easy. That's the first one gripping, and on there. You've got to be fairly gentle because you don't want to break the float, you don't want to crack your line, you don't want to pinch your line or anything like that, so you just want to feed it nice and gently until you get it completely on the stem. There's one, and the second one. There's 2, and the third one, which is going to be the, oops, have I dropped that off now? I have, there it is there. Put you back on. Believe it or not, I picked that up with about 14 different blooming dog hairs, so I couldn't tell what was the line and what was a dog hair. But we got it anyway. We got that one on there, and that's going to be the tail piece, what I call the tail ender. Right, so pull that line up. Pull one rubber up, one rubber right up to the body of the float. The next one up to the middle. Now you could probably even get away with 4 on these floats because they have got rather a long stem. And then the one on the tail end as well. Now you want your line, if you can, to have it as straight coming out of that eye. So where it comes out of the eye, straight down. You don't want it twisting round or looping round your stem, otherwise it can cause you all manner of problems. And what you want to do is at the tail, where it comes off this bit here, off the base of the float, is have your rubber hanging off the tail of the float. And the reason you want your rubber just off it, that's why you use a longer rubber, is it stops it tangling. It prevents tangles from it being whipped around because you've got the rubber sticking out. It almost adds like oh, what do they call it? A stiff bit, basically. I can't think of the word. Like a paternoster. So it's this little stiff piece to stop the line from being able to come up and tangle over. And it does help. So there you go, there's the float on the line. As you see, it's nice and straight, like that. And what we're going to do is we're going to basically put some weights on it now and see what it takes. Like I say, it's a 0.4, so I know with a 0.4 you're looking at probably up to 6 number 8s, something like that, maybe more, depending on how buoyant they are. So what we'll do, we'll get some number 8s out of the box here. Let's see what I've got here. I've always got plenty of old shop to use up just for this purpose. Right, there's number 8. So we'll go one there. And what you could do, in fairness, is if you've got them like a shop pliers or anything like that, use a shop pliers, because it is better on your teeth anyway. Right, these number 8s are a bit better, got more of a slit in them for us to see. So there we go. Right. Can't even blooming. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll see how that is with 4 on it, just for the sake of. And as of now, it's sinking almost the body of the float with 4 number 8s on there. Now, if you wanted to, you could change these number 8s up and use a number 6, or you could even go finer and do number 9s, and you could really shut your line down in a nice pattern, going from higher up the line towards your float. But this is just to get a reading of what it's going to take to sink this float with number 8s, and then you, like I say, once you figure out what it's going to take properly, because each float can have that little bit of a difference, you can start doing them yourself, as in what you think it's going to take. So that's 6 on there now, and that is starting to sink now the tip of the float. It's gone past the body, and now the tip of the float is starting to sink down, and that's with 6 number 8s. So let's see what happens if we put a 7th on, how far down it goes. There we go, that's the 7th one on. Now that's down to the 2nd coloration now. I mean, you might be able to see that on there. I'll just pick this up and I'll move it over so that you can see how it's sitting. Alright, so that's with 7 number 8s. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put another number 8 just to see what it'll do. That's on the line there now. Right, now that has took it down so low that my weights are actually sitting on the deck, so I'm going to move my float down to the weights. Yes, so I may have to move these weights up a bit, because now my weights are sitting on the deck of the vase, so I'm not getting a true reading of what my float's sitting like. But there we go, there we have it. Now my weights are sitting off the bottom, and that is how much of the float is showing. That little tip, it looks separated because of the refraction, which is quite cool really, but just that bit of the tip is all that's showing, which is perfect for if you're fishing over depth on the pellet. Perfect. So what I'm going to do is I'd take one off, take one of those weights off like that. put her back in. Right, I'll show you how that's sitting now. And you can see there that it's now the black and the yellow. So if I were to put that in now, what I'd do is I'd either fish it dead depth and see how much the pellet sank the float to that added depth to see if it could get it down to that last little bit of red. Or if I was fishing over depth, I would put a number 9, 10, 11 or a 12 down on my hook length, either just touching the bottom to bring it down to that tip. But because you're fishing the pellet, the hard pellet I should say, the hard pellet, and I'm fishing it on the bottom for the carp, your bites, you don't need to be too sensitive, because a bite should basically go that quick. When they suck that pellet up, it's gone. It shouldn't be bob, bob, bob like you would with your corn or your maggot or anything like that. Once the carp are on the feed in there, it's an instant bite, real instantaneous take. So that's how you rig it up anyway, and that has come to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 number 8s on that float to get it to sit at that perfect sensitivity mark. Now, with it taking that as well, I could not fish the pellet, fish the corn, fish the maggot, fish the paste. Brilliant float for paste fishing when you've got that amount of sensitivity, or anything like tears, things like that. So even the slightest movements, because of the coloration on the tip, you're going to know. You're going to know a fish has took it, because all it has to do is move a couple of mil and you've got different colour. And you're going to know there's a fish either taking it or is at least showing interest down there. But that is how best to do your pole floats at home. Get yourself a nice big bowl of water like this, or a vase or a tub or anything like that. Something that you can shot at least a foot of line underneath a float, so that when you do this you can tell what your float's going to take, how it's going to sit in the water, and then you can start thinking about your hook bait presentation and how you're going to lay your shotting out. And shotting out is up to you how you want to string it out. But I just thought I'd show you that on how to judge your floats when you buy them brand new, because they don't all take what they say. Some will say 0.4 and end up taking 0.8. I was using a 2BB float the other day, and to get it just to the tip after the body didn't take 2BB. No, it took 1 AA and a half just to get it there. So don't trust what's written on the stem. Okay, so there you go, tips, tactics and how to set up your pole floats. Tight lines, and see you soon.